All right, let's take a look at the S&P 500. As you can see, last week we sort of have a mixed price action. You can see on Monday it gapped up with a strong rally and pushes up. And then on Tuesday, we noticed that the buyer was unable to hold the opening price here. You can see that the buyer pushed the price higher, and the seller came in and actually pushed the price back below the open price and closed below the open price, even though that it did close above the previous close. Then on Wednesday, we see once again, we have an opening gap and pushed the price higher into an all-time high. Then you see the seller came in and sold it and actually closed below the open price and also below the previous day close. So that kind of gives us a little sign of bearishness start coming into the market on the S&P 500. They see on Thursday we got a gap down, and once again buyer was trying to lift it back up, was unable to come back up to the previous close, and then the seller just took it down and sold it all the way near the bottom of the range and closed near the bottom of the range. Then on Friday, once again, the buyer was trying to hold this price up here with a gap open, gap up open. And once again, the buyer wasn't able to hold the price above the open, and the seller pushes it down and took it below the previous day close. Then the buyer stepped back in, although it did make a valiant effort to try to push the price back up, and it did force a close above the previous day, but still you can see that most of the Friday it was the seller were in control here. So for the coming week, we'll be watching to see will the buyer be able to push the price back up above this high here and possibly get up to a new all-time high. If that is the case, then we'll be looking at the possibility of putting in this upper range in play, and the market is pricing in this weekly expected move upper range between 6,950 and 6,937.20. Once it get up above here, where could it go? Because then it'd be an all-time high territory. And one of the two that I use is basically the Fibonacci extension tool and look for a symmetry move. So basically look at this here and try to project this up here, and basically looking at this close to 80%, the Fibonacci 0.786, and this brings it up to 7,100. And if we go to 618, and that brings it to 7,042. So those are the two key levels to keep an eye on if we see that the S&P 500 breaks through the upper range of the weekly expected move. Now on the downside, let's say the buyer is unable to take the price back above this high here, and the seller continue to press and pushes down and take out this low, then we're basically looking for these gap fill to these gap to get filled, and look for this 67-65 area to get tested and pushes down to this lower range where the market is pricing in between 67.43.20 and 67.05. So we'll see would it be able to hold this low range, and also this possibly the moving average cloud to see would it get a bounce back up. And if it's unable to hold this, this area here, then we're basically looking for the possibility for the price to continue to move down into this 65.50 here, this October low, and we test this October low for potential support. So those are the upside and downside price scenario for the S&P 500 for the coming week, and a little bit extended if the price action start making a drastic move out of these weekly range, then we know what are some of the potential upside and downside target to keep an eye on. Let's take a look at the ES, the E mini S&P 500 future, and see what we could expect for the coming week. Now notice I have the weekly profile here on this chart, and you can see right here we basically have a 4-week one-time framing up, and this week here booked at one-time framing up, and now we are starting another 3-week one-time framing up. Now the other thing that I want to point out, some of the nuances with the profile, Now, the first thing that I want to point out is these naked point of control, right? These what we call the version point of control. And you can see that they are pretty much well respected. Notice that this low here came down right near this point of control, this version point of control, and found buyers, and we got a bounce back up. And similarly here on this version point of control, notice on this week it came down. Matter of fact, the week low, that weekly low was right near this version point of control, and it came back up. And here we see that it came up to this version point of control and found rejection or resistance and pushed back down. So be sure to pay attention to these version point of control. So for the coming week, we're basically looking at this version point of control and also this version point of control. The first thing we're going to pay attention to is to see, will this price remain inside of this value area here, last week's value area, and see which side it's going to break. If it break above this value area, then we're basically looking for buyer to move up and try to find new balance area or value area. And here is what the market is projecting for the weekly upper range, and it is between 69.75 and 69.69. So those are the level to keep an eye on the upper range if it breaks this value area. Now, if it breaks below this value area, then the first thing we're going to look for is these gap fill and come down here to this value area here and look for a potential bounce off of this version point of control here. And that would be right near this lower range, the 67.75.50. And also the range for this lower range is the bottom edge is 67.25. So if it doesn't hold this point of control, let's say it doesn't get a bounce back up, then we could see the price continue to move down to this value area low, and that would put this lower edge in play. Now also the other thing is, once the price get into inside of this area, we're basically looking at this huge distribution, and we could see price auction down all the way down possibly to the 6,600, and once again possibly come down and tag this what was version point of control. Now I'm not even sure that actually tagged that, but it could be there's still a little gap here. But in any case, that is what we are looking at for the ES. Now looking at the NQ, the E-mini Nasdaq 100 futures, we also see a similar type of price action here. We have this 4 one-time framing up, and it was broken on this week, and now we're working on a one-time framing up. So far we see this 3 consecutive one-time framing up. Now notice that a lot of time the NQ come down and test the value area for acceptance or rejection, because if you notice here, you see the price came up here, built up a little bit of a value, and we got this little sell-off and it came back down into this value area here. This actually is a multi-day balance area, and you see that the price came down and broke through this and went to this particular value area, got rejected down here at this low volume no, and then pushes the price back in to this multi-day balance area, and see that it chopped around and then move away. And where did it move away? It moved back up into this value area here before it found rejection once again, just like up here, and the price pushed back in and pushed back down. And where did it go down? Well, it came back down to this multi-day value area, and once again the market found the price to be a little bit low, or the value to be a little low, so they push it back into this value area and then finally broke out of this value area to look for a higher value. And here last week it found the value starting to establish value up here near this 26,000 area, so you can see this 25,900 and 26,200. So it's trying to find some value here last week. So now for the coming week, we're basically looking at the price action to see would it break above this value area and try to look for a higher value and work itself up into this upper range, which the market is pricing 26,475 and 26,415. So if it come up and get up to this upper range, then there's a couple ways for us to project, the next level in the high, in this new high territory. And one of the methods that I use is the Fibonacci extension, and you can also look at this thing here as a little bit of a bull flag, right? If it put in a low value and then push up, or we could also just simply look at it as a symmetry move. So let's use this Fibonacci extension tool and do a projection from this low here and this high, and try to project a symmetry move. All right, so we'll basically do this. All right, so you can see that right now we have this 618 is at 26,850, and the 786 are close to 80%, which is 27,126, and 100% symmetry move, or the bull flag measure move. If you want to look at this as a little bit of a bull flag, then it'd be 27,472. Now, we could also look at this particular big bull flag here, because we do have this balance area here, this multi-day balance area, and this is like the little bit of a consolidation area. So we could use this as well. And if we take this pivot low and come up to this pivot high here, somewhere around here, and this pivot low, so you can see that at this 100% extension or symmetry, that will put it as 26,745, and that's a little bit in confluence with this 618 of this little bit of a bull flag here, 26,850, and you see that it tagged the 618 and 786 last week here. So it all depends, which one you want to take a look at, and they basically give us a little bit of a projection on the new high territory on some of the potential price target. So those are the action that we're looking at. And then on the downside, let's take a look at on the downside here. Let me remove these so we don't clutter up the chart here. And so for the downside, we're basically looking at the possibility of breaking this particular balance area here, right? The value area. So if we see the price break this value area, we're looking for this gap fill and try to come down to this value area once again, right? This multi-day value area, and see where to find acceptance. And that basically put the lower range of the weekly expected move in play. And the market is pricing in between 25,551 and 25,375. So we're basically looking for the possibility to come back in to this balance area and see what it hold this balance area and get a rejection back up. If it doesn't, then we're basically looking at this distribution area, and for the price to possibly come down into this 24,000 area, 24,400, 24,200 area, back into this, lower edge of this balance area here. So those are the NQ price scenario for the coming week, and maybe a little bit broader time frame. For more detailed analysis of the market, be sure to go and check out my newsletter at Substack, the Pulse of the Market, and also check out this weekly market review post here. In this post, I review additional major market indexes and also the market internal, along with the Max 7 and the sectors. So be sure to go and check out this weekly market review in my Substack newsletter, the Pulse of the Market. Thank you for watching, and good luck on your trading. Thank you for watching. If you like the content, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to this channel, click the subscribe icon to subscribe and help support this channel. Now, for more content from me, go visit my newsletter at smtraderCA.substack.com. You will find trade ideas, daily trade plans, weekly market review and analysis, trading tutorial and strategies, and much more in my newsletter, The Pulse of the Market. And the link is smtraderCA.substack.com.